Hey everybody, welcome to Kimmel's Average Pub. Time for another movie review. Tonight's movie, A Day to Die. Yes, another Bruce Willis movie. I think I could just do movie reviews on Bruce Willis and Nicolas Cage and still do one every night. It feels like that. He just likes so many movies. It's unbelievable. At least Bruce Willis. Nicolas Cage has kind of calmed down a little bit. I haven't caught any of this kind of stuff from him in a while. But this is also has Frank Grillo in it and Kevin Dillon. Frank Grillo, we know he was in Avengers, and Kevin Dillon is from Entourage, right? Johnny Drama. There you go. So this is about a guy who kills a drug syndicate member, but then has to repay $2 million for some reason, and he reaches out to his old military friends to help him pull together $2 million to save his life, kind of thing. That's what the movie says it's about on IMDb. It is 5.2. But only 756 people rated it so far. Outside of those two, I don't recognize really anybody in it, but hey, why not? Bruce Willis, Kevin Dillon, Frank Grillo. An hour and 45 minutes. How better can you spend a Sunday night? Finding out what this movie's about. So stick around. I'll be back. Hey everybody, I want to do a quick check-in here. We're watching A Day to Die. We're at the 58-minute, 22-second mark, so a little over halfway. Essentially, Kevin Dillon is our main character. He was part of it seemed like a SWAT team. Frank Grillo was his commanding officer, if you will. Bruce Willis happens to be like the chief of police. So in the beginning, they show some event, but just kind of building the fact that Kevin Dillon and the team and Frank Grillo kind of, you know what I mean, work together. But ultimately what happens is Kevin Dillon, for one reason or another, ends up shooting somebody who's part of the drug cartel, but just like a smaller town guy. But he, because of this, the big boss says, look, you got to pay me back. So he kidnaps his wife and says, you got to pay me $2 million because that's how much this guy was going to make me. You know, and you killed him. So now Kevin Dillon has to somehow find $2 million. That's when he reaches back out to his SWAT team buddies, which was like, you know, a couple years ago or whatever, and tries to bring them back together in order to find $2 million so that he can get his wife back. That's really what it's about. Bruce Willis, again, is, like I said, he was the chief of police, but you can tell that he might not be all on the up and up on this, but he's not a part of the gang that Kevin Dillon's trying to put together in order to, you know, try and save his wife. He's, you know, still on the outside looking in so far, but they're giving you glimpses of what he's about. So we'll see what his character does going forward. You know, so far okay. You know, it's an interesting plot line, and a lot of action and that kind of thing, but there's also some, I don't know, cheesy parts, I'd say. I don't know about the camaraderie and stuff like that. You know, it could be the acting and it could be the writing. I'm not sure. But outside of that, it's entertaining. So let me get back to it here, see where it goes, and I'll give you my final thoughts. Stick around. Hey everybody, we're at the credits of A Day to Die, and it's a very entertaining film. Especially if you like these kinds of movies, like the Heat. It reminds me of Heat, you know, and that, I can't think of anything else right off the top of my head, but Heat really comes to mind. It's a lot like that, but it's interesting, and you know, so like I said, Kevin Dillon and Frank Grillo are all part of I want to say they're SWAT. I don't know, that's what they seem to be like, and so they're working for, you know, the police and things like that, and their whole group. What they didn't do in the beginning, they slightly do it, but they didn't build the depth behind their relationship as a group. You know, you get one little scene, and then that's it. And I get it, I guess, like, in the military, maybe it's supposed to be assumed that they're always, like, you know, no man left behind, all that kind of stuff. But, really, for the guys who come back together to help Kevin Dillon and rescue his wife, you don't have enough background on them and why they're all close knit together kind of thing. So that's missing from it. So if you let that aside and just assume, there's some previous story that we don't know about, and you can see that building of the camaraderie together, okay, great. And then you go on. And so they're, but they're working for the police. And you would think that they're, I don't know, the good guys, if you will. So it was interesting the way this went. Now I get it when, like they said, they kidnapped his wife, who's pregnant. So you're going to do whatever you need to do in order to make this work out. And so that's what a large majority of this movie is. But then, it continues on. And there's corruption and all that kind of stuff. And, being the military, previous SWAT kind of people, you're thinking they're going to go after the corruption, right? And maybe they do, maybe they don't. But it gets a little out of hand for what I felt. What that group of people were originally, tasked to do, or, whatever side that they were on originally. So I can't go into too much detail without doing something somebody else told me is going into spoilers. So in the end, I found it very entertaining. I felt that there was, maybe some either bad acting or bad dialogue. The action scenes were pretty good. And like I said, the plot was good, and you don't want the same kind of plot line that you've seen every other way. So they do a good job of steering away from that. But I don't think, like I said, they didn't develop the team well enough for me to really feel their connection. As you see the story unfold, you need that piece. And then the moral compass side of things. So that's all I'll say right there. Worth a watch. It's not Bruce Willis's worst movie, and I've said this before. He's, again, just in the background for the most part. It's really Kevin Dillon and Frank Grillo carry the story. It's not so much Bruce Willis, but he's involved, but doesn't have a lot to do with the whole movie. He's a lot to do with the plot, but not the movie. So there you go. That's what I got for you. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit more openly, and spoilers might be involved. I'll do my best not to spoil it, but if you don't want to be spoiled, go ahead and you can end watching now. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Stop if you don't want to hear anymore. Alright, you've been warned. So the whole thing is like I've been saying throughout this entire review, that they are, for the good guys. They work with the police, they were in the military, they served in Iraq, right? So you think, now while they've killed and stuff like that, it's been in the line of duty that they've been participating in, if you will. So it gets to the point where they're now going after the drug dealer who's kidnapped his wife. And so, great, that has happened. Now they want to go after the corruption, which is Bruce Willis's character. He's been corrupt somehow or some way, and he's starting to move his money. And I'm not even sure. I guess he's just involved in the drug trade. It's not abundantly clear, but you get the gist. So he's corrupt and he's going to do other things. So they want to go after that. While they're going after that and making that happen, they make some poor tactical decisions. Don't get me wrong, running into the bank and stuff like that. But they also start shooting back at the cops. And it's like, no, you guys are for the cops. I mean, I get it, Bruce Willis, but not the entire police force was not corrupt. And they were, shooting them. Like, that just kind of threw the whole movie out of whack for me. You're like, okay, you guys are good guys, you're retired or whatever. And now you're going to come out of retirement, save Kevin Dillon's wife and unborn child, great. Now you're going to shoot up the police force? In order to take down Bruce Willis, which you don't actually do. You don't even accomplish at the end. So, that's, I think, and I always say this, I don't always say this, but every now and again I think to myself, if somebody would be like, hey, Jeff, come in and watch this film. Give us some feedback. Like, and I can't direct, I can't produce, I can't write, I can't even barely review movies, but I would have said, look, keep them morally, in line with what their characters were the entire movie. Don't have them shooting up cops, and if they were, make it for a good purpose. It doesn't align to what everything else you're rooting for these characters until you're now not supposed to. And if you want to, okay, that's fine, but I don't know. It makes it weird because you're rooting for these guys and you want them, Kevin Dillon, to find his wife and, triumph over evil. But then come to the end, no, they're evil just as bad, and they don't do it. They steal the money. They actually turn. You think about it. I know it's a spoiler. They turn from these good guys that they were to, okay, going after the corruption, but not taking down the corruption, just taking the money from the corruption and using it for their own. And giving up each other's lives to make that happen. So, I guess that's good. In a movie sense, I guess that's different than everything else. So that's what I got for you. I want to thank my subscriber, I forget, but for giving me this advice and made it into 4 parts, a little extra there. So that's what I got for you. Hopefully you stuck around this far, and maybe you'll watch it now, maybe you won't. Maybe you've already seen it and you want to talk about it, great. Try not to spoil it in the comments below, but I appreciate you sticking with me this far. Thanks for tuning in. Kimmel's Irish Pub.
Thank you.